Greetings, I'm John O'Toole. This is part 3 of my attempt at growing microgreens without soil. Now, there's a number of people on YouTube that have been very successful at growing microgreens this way. I'm not one of them. And you can see by my examples here. Now, I'm paying approximately $8 to $10 a pound for sunflower seeds, organic, food grade sunflower from Johnny Seeds. And yeah, I could probably get them cheaper somewhere else, but it's a family owned business, employee owned business that's up in Maine, and I can get my product from them within a day. Not within a day, but within 2 days or so. So I've been very content with the customer support from Johnny Seeds. And I know I've had people comment before that, buy your seeds from somewhere cheaper and you won't mind throwing them away every week. Well, even if I was buying them from somewhere else, I would mind throwing them away. There's a lot of time and effort that goes through growing a trait of something and have it not grow. And am I sounding a little whiny? Yeah, I'm sounding a little whiny. Now, even if I were growing these in cococuir and the crops didn't grow, I'd be very disappointed also. So I like to try to grow things the way that's most productive. It would be great to eliminate the process of having a medium because that's just an extra added expense. And this particular method didn't work for me. Now, there may be a lot of factors involved with that. The temperature in the room at the time. I was actually in the hospital during this grow, although actually it was the ideal time to be in the hospital during the grow because this is when you start them and stack them. And then they just sit for a few days. Now, perhaps the stacking method isn't so appropriate with growing them this way, since you're not actually pushing the seeds down into the medium as you are with cococuir, giving it the cradling effect. So maybe just covering the tray with another tray is sufficient, and putting them on the stack. You could do it another time and try it that way and see if that grows better. But at this point in time, I don't really feel like wasting another $10 on seed just for the chance to find out how well it works. So I'm probably going to get a harvest from this, but it's not going to be much, and it's not going to be the full yield. If I get 4 ounces or 5 ounces, I'm going to be lucky. And so 10 ounces of seed, actually it was more like 12, so 12 ounces of seed. It's not quite $10. It's probably like 8. And then get 4 ounces of microgreens and then sell them for $1 an ounce. Yeah, I know I'm not real sharp on math sometimes, but you can see where there's a problem there. Now, I know other people have been very successful with this in areas where there's a higher humidity. They're also growing outside, so that might have a different effect on it. I'm growing indoors in a room in my house. So I have to be particularly careful about things that people don't have a concern about being outside or in a greenhouse. Now, in this stage here where I hit them with some water, I may have hit them with too much water. In fact, I definitely hit it with too much water. So I probably overwatered the batch, which may explain why they didn't grow as well as they should. On the other hand, if I didn't water them enough, they would have dried out by the time that I returned home from the hospital. So it's kind of a sketchy one way or the other. This actually looks like it was the top tray. Yeah, I mean, overwatering is a bad thing, and underwatering is a bad thing. This was the middle tray. The middle tray was the tray that actually did do well. So the culprit for reason why that tray didn't grow well is because it had too much water. And then the tray that I'm putting on top, I didn't water it probably as much. And then the white tray on the bottom, I probably didn't water as much. So there you go. It had to do with the watering. Now, some people have set up a system where they will flood the pans and then drain. And that's a cool system too. And it's not something I haven't thought about. But I've also thought about the fact that if they were to leak, they would dump a lot of water on my floor of my house. So that's not a good thing for my application. It's a similar thing with the growing of the wheatgrass and the barley grass, the oak grass, those grasses, because you kind of want to like flood them with water and then drain the water, not let them the roots to sit in the water. So having a more of a hydroponic type of setup for them is a better way to go versus just having them sit in the water. As you're going to see in some of the videos I have down the road, I'm pretty much using the same setup for everything. And it has its pros and cons. So this is what part of gardening is all about. Trying to find out what meets your needs, works in your particular situation, so that you can grow your own vegetables and flourish with that. You can either grow your own or you can buy your own. There's no wrong way here. There's no reason why you can't go to a neighbor and buy vegetables. There's no reason why you can't trade with your neighbor either. So there's lots of possibilities here for you. Either way, you've got to figure out your watering schedule so that it's properly watered. The reasons why I put the cans there on the thing was because the netting actually comes in a roll, and it was real challenging getting it to lie flat. So I got it into the tray and put the seed containers down to hold it down until I got the seed on there, so that held it down. Novel idea. But anyway, this was my attempt at trying to grow sunflowers without soil. I hope you can go out there and find a way that works for you and grow some microgreens, or just to grow something. So get out there and grow something. The fairy would love it if you can grow some flowers or some vegetables. Ta-ta for now. Hello, tubers out there, fellow gardeners. So it's the 30th. Wow. End of a year, end of a month. And we got snow. Hasn't gotten above 6 degrees in a week. It's just all good. So I remember this video here I put up a little while ago about drilling the caps instead of buying the actual screens. They actually work fairly well. Screens will probably be better in the long run, but they actually work pretty well. So I just was going to stick this in here in the beginning of this video to show it to you. I'm actually doing video on my Canon Vixia of this whole process of growing the barley in the trays. But basically I did is I measured out 1 pound of barley seed in these jars. I put this jar on the scale and zeroed it out, and then filled it up to 1 pound, 16 ounces. Filled it up with water and put the cap on and let it sit upright overnight for about 12 hours. And then I dumped the water out and refilled the jar up, and then dumped the water out again through the cap. And then I just left them on their side. Now they have these brackets that you can keep the bottles inverted at an angle, which is probably the best thing to do, and then all the water drips out. But I was going cheap, so this is the way I did it. And I did this for every day. I did this every day. Did the same thing, dumped the water out, and set them on the table like this. And on the 4th day, I put them out into trays. So then I put them in the trays with the black with the perforated and the white on the bottom, and hit them down with some misting, some water on them, and then I put a clear plastic top on top to keep the moisture in. Right now, the house is probably as dry could be. So to keep moisture in it seems like a good idea. The tops I have are only 2 inches tall. I've seen people use the really tall plastic covers so that they can stay in the moisture, for as long as possible. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go that route or not, but right now I'm just using the clear 2-inch covers. And they're not the cleanest as possible. I've been using them for a lot of other things. They're perfectly clear. They're about $2 a piece down at the grain store. So in the next video, you'll see them in action. So here are the trays now. This is, I think it's day 3 or maybe 4. I probably did a better job of making note of my days. I think it's day 4 because yesterday I didn't bother with them at all. So, and this tray over here, this is actually that's been a couple weeks old now. So as you can see, as it sits, doesn't stay green forever. It exhausts itself out and then starts turning brown. So there's a time when it's time to harvest, just like the microgreens, and there's a time to not let them go past. So you notice that quality thing with the lines. I have my this is a Power Sure Shot, and I have it on the high quality, HD quality setting, and it picks up the pulsing of the lights. Whereas my Vixia is on the very high quality HD setting, doesn't pick up that. But Vixia, that quality doesn't get recognized by the PC very well. So it only really works with Final Cut. So here I am. I got a pump sprayer. You pump it up and then you can spray the water on it, which they are very cool. And they save the hand action. And I'm misting the plants, which is what I've been doing. I've been misting every day. And then I put the plastic cover back on. This way I don't overwater, because it doesn't use a lot of water to grow. And then you end up with stagnant water in the white tray, which tends to pick up an odor. And I don't think the odor is a healthy odor. So I haven't been putting water in the bottom of the tray. You can see it's dry. So I just water from the top, and it gives it enough moisture to grow. And this is a pretty easy way to do it. Some people will bring it over to the sink and hose it down with the sink sprayer. And you could do that if you wish, and let it drain out and then put it back into the white tray. But this seems like it works pretty well. I think if I was doing them in larger quantities, maybe I would do it differently. But this way you can sit down in a chair, you can chat with the plants, tell them how your day's going. They're great listeners, these plants. They really listen to what you have to say to them. And they don't talk back. That's an amazing thing too. I don't get a lot of talking back with these plants. Not like the sunflowers. The sunflowers are always yap, 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 yap. But these are pretty good about it. They just sit and listen, and yeah, they're pretty good about listening. We could call this barley listening plant, or listening barley, or barley listens. Yep, maybe I could put that as the name of the video, barley listens. So these sprayers, they have a lock on it too, so that you don't have to hold the button down even. You can't really use them with any kind of mixture, because they'll clog up. So it's just for water. So I'm showing you these sunflowers here up close. You want to see those second set of leaves? That's about as much as you want to get for those leaves. There's another one here. The second set of leaves have no flavor, and they're a little furry. See, those are a little too big. You could pinch those off, but if you imagine having 1,000 of these sunflowers in which you have to pinch them off, not that I ever done that before. Well, I have actually done it before, when I missed my harvest day. If you're going to juice them, then it's perfectly fine to let those leaves pop out. But if you're using them for anything else that your mouth is going to notice the texture, you want to harvest before that. Hello YouTuber boobers. This is the dome, the humidity dome that I put over the corn shoots, and I keep them in there dark, and I harvest them preferably before the leaves start to pop out. And this is when they're at their sweetest stage. Otherwise they start getting very aspartame in taste, and they're not as much of a joy. And also, this is just doing a little sunflower harvest. It's somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes per tray, because you have to pick off what left over in hulls. There's a lot of ways of getting rid of the hulls, but the simplest way is just to pull them off initially. If you have huge harvests, then you're probably going to put them in through a whirlpool bath and try to knock them all off that way. But for me, this works out the best for me. But so you just sing songs to them and sweet nothings, and then you'll just have some fun. So I sped up this one here. It was actually about 24 minutes long, and I sped it up about 6 minutes or so. So you can fast forward if you want to about the 6 minute, 7 minutes, and go on to the next segment if you wish. Ta-ta. So this is a shot of the shoots that I harvested recently for the corn shoots, and I get them before they start to sprout out, and they're quite good looking. And also another shot of the harvest for sunflowers and radishes and peas. So keeping the amount down to 3 ounces per tray for sunflower seems to be working out well. And of course, we still are surrounded by snow. And the last big storm fortunately missed us, but I don't know how. But it's pretty cool. Ta-ta. Peaceful enough for all. Food, water, shelter, clothing, healthcare, and education. Peaceful enough for all.
Drunken sailor, what shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor?